Hello everyone, Zelleranth here, and for today's video we're going to be talking about making parents within Umamusume, and the focus here will be how to get better inspirations and building your deck around it, and a tool that you can use that I really hadn't used too much other than kind of doing the math manually myself to help better decide the support cards you want to bring for targeting very specific skills. And to do that, we're going to kind of start with taking a look at some of the main Umas I'm using when it comes to making parents. You can get an idea of what I'm going to showcase here on the website. So if you've watched me do any of my streams, you know, like, the main thing that I try to do, especially when I'm done doing my aces, and I feel like I have a solid enough parents for the next champions meetings, is to just try and grind out grandparents or even great-grandparents to just make my life much easier long-term when it comes to making parents in the future. Trying to really set myself up for success as much as I can once we get into the next scenarios and we get things like reroll, and then I can really start to make those really strong grandparents and parents going into the future. Now, there's a couple that I kind of have as my core parents that I've used when it comes to making Umas. We'll probably take a look at one of them that I had as a borrow that you might know of. I can find it in here. I've got so many that I've kind of used over time here. One of them being this Mihono Bourbon that I built. She has medium 2, wit 2, ignited wit, slipstream, groundwork. We have prudent positioning in there. And a bunch of other things, like in the grandparents, we have groundwork, wit, playtime's over. Here we have slipstream, wit, groundwork, prudent positioning. So overall, pretty good there. And then another one, which I consider to be a really strong great-grandparent. Not really a grandparent in a sense, because you can't really make too much with her. And that's going to be, and I've got a lot of them in here, so I gotta kind of find her. I think it's going to be this one right here. This one has pretty much everything I want when it comes to making a grandparent as a great-grandparent, in that she has, like, all the core skills I want. She has ignited wit, playtime's over, slipstream, ramp up, we have prudent positioning, and then we have some other little niceties in there. Spring Runner, although Spring Runner is going to kind of fall off now that we're getting ready to go into a summer one. And then we have Umastan for, like, making end closer, late surgers, or even pace chaser ones. Only thing really missing is groundwork, but we'll kind of talk about how I kind of deal with that when it comes to planning out my decks. This is another kind of core one that I use, and then I have a few more up here. One that I just recently made, that it's another great-grandparent. Didn't work out on the blues or the pink here, but she's got ignited wit, playtime's over, tail held high, some little skills in here. And then, I mean, of course, Frontrunner kind of sucks on there in Speed 1, but she has my Ines Fujin that I just showed with all of her skills, as well as an Oguri Cap borrow that I have that's really good as a great-grandparent, having Slipstream, Tail Held High, Ramp Up, Groundwork, Ignited Wit. And so, using these, when I do runs, a lot of people sometimes will ask questions on why I might bring specific cards. One of them that I've been using more recently being, like, the Bokshin Power card, because I can get Tail Held High off of it. But then on certain Umas or certain setups I have for parents and grandparents, I might not bring her, or I might bring a different card, like Muteki, for different reasons. And that's all going to come down to the chances of getting the sparks. Now, if you had watched any videos in the past, I used to use a spreadsheet that kind of had all of the calcs on it, where you could put in the affinity, and it would tell you your percentage chance of getting specific things to spark. Well, this is a tool that's been out for a little while, though, now, that I haven't really took time to use, but I've just more recently started using, that I think can really help when it comes to making those decisions. And you can even use this when it comes to building your aces as well, when it comes to picking which support cards you want to use. And that is going to be on here. This is the website, Chronogenesis. I'll put a link to it in the description. This is where I primarily find all of my borrows for making parents and grandparents. But they have this affinity calculator. I think it was added like a month or so ago. And I've just started using it in the last week. But this actually does all the calcs for you and tells you percentage chances. Now, one of the problems I've had with some of the others of these that have existed is that you had to manually create them. And this one, you can manually create them to kind of just see what you really want. But this one, you can actually add the ones that you actually have and see what all the chances are. And we'll just kind of use an Ines Fujin, which is what I'm currently grinding, trying to grind out a new Ines Fujin grandparent as an example here. And so I've added some Umas down here. These are my Umas that I'm currently using in parent or grandparent or even ace runs. And so how you add them here will depend on whether, if you're going to use a borrow, you just go and find the borrow and take and put the rental ID in here, whatever that number is, and then they'll get loaded and saved on here. So we have that Ogre cap here is one of them. Once they're loaded on here, I can click confirm and it adds them on. Now how you can add yours, your side of it, is you can go into the game, and so like I have my Summer Muduzensky here that I'm currently using. I'll go into here where you make your partner ID. This is where you can show your partners for trying them out or sharing them other people to try out within the room matches. You just copy this code right here and you go back into here, grab from partner ID, post the partner ID in there, and then it will add them, which is right here, is this Summer Muduzensky. And then you'll add them. Now this does all the calcs and shows you everything what you're looking at here. So if I run Ines Fujin, I know I have 214 affinity. So it is a double circle, but not only double circle, a very strong double circle. It has that Ogre cap and has my Summer Muduzensky. And even with that, you can see I have a Ines Fujin in the grandparent here, which does reduce the affinity a bit. If I didn't have that, it'd be even higher, which I could probably put in. I can use another one that's not in there at all. Like I probably could put Silent Suzuka here. And, oh, well, she's actually lower. Probably because she's not got high affinity with her at all. Ines Fujin's just all around good for affinity in general. One of the reasons I like running her as a grandparent. But you can kind of just move around, and this can help you determine maybe which Uma you might want to try and make the parent, or which ones will be a really good ace, or which parents are really good just because of the affinity with this tool. But not only that, you can actually go down here and look at the chance of getting what you're going to get on your inspirations from the sparks here. Now, you have the math on the individual basis of the sparks. So if I say single inspiration, this is, to me, I like the single inspiration for when I do ace runs, because I like to glue Umas after the first inspiration. And so this will tell me what my odds are getting anything specifically during that first inspiration. And that'll help me determine if it's worth my time or effort, or if I really need to make something better. And so this will go down on every single spark that, or everything they have on all of the Umas, and what the chances of hitting any specific one of them are. Now, this is on the individual basis. As you can see, as we're doing Ines Fujin, you can even see here, because of the reduction in affinity, like you see 100% on pretty much all the blues on all these other ones, and then she's only 93. I mean, that's just because when they're their own grandparent, you lose a lot of that advantage on them. But you still have a lot of things on you that you can get hits off. But the one I like to use the most, like I don't really care too much about the individual chances on every individual spark. I care about the specific sparks as a total sum chances. And so like with single inspiration, I can go down here and it'll tell me my chances of getting any specific thing. And so one example would be Slipstream. On the first inspiration, I have a 43% chance with this setup to get Slipstream. I have a 26% chance to get Playtime's Over, 46% chance to get Ignited Wit. We have Groundwork at 38, Tail Held High at 35, Umastan at 4.2, which makes sense. It tells you how many stars you have of that. Umastan only have 1 star, I mean, and it's in the grandparent. So definitely a low chance there. We have Speed Eater. We have all the other little things. We don't have to go through each one of them. And this is a single inspiration. And so this can help you when it comes to aces, for example. Because if I was trying to get medium S, you can see 18% chance in a single inspiration. That means about 1 out of 5 runs will get me it. If you say it takes, on the first inspiration, and it takes about 20 minutes to get that first inspiration, it's going to take about an hour and a half, maybe a little bit more, to just get medium S on that first inspiration. With this setup. Now, this setup is pretty bad if I was trying to get that, so that should be a little bit higher when you're actually doing ace runs, but it can give you a general idea if you actually have a decent enough setup. But the other one is, when it comes to parents, is the entire career. And that's because, to me, when it comes to parent runs, I very rarely will kill them off on the first inspiration, as generally they can be good overall through the entire run based on the setup I'm using. And I'm not like I'm not trying to get like medium S, groundwork, like all these things that I specifically have to have for an ace, versus a parent where the main thing I mostly care about having every single time is ignited wit, just so I don't lose it. While I can get away without not having some others. So this one I'll check with a single career, and this tells you the odds of getting anything in an entire career. So you can see here, ignited wit, 71% chance. Really, really good. Most important one that I want to see pretty much every run and get on my sparks, because we have no other way to get this through a support card or anything. And even in JP at this point, there's no other way other than going back to Unity Cup, which I never want to do. 68% chance of Slipstream, 45% chance of Playtime's Over, 58% chance of Tail Held High, 7% of Uma Stand, 62 Groundwork. Okay, so we can see on all these skills, the other big one, Ramp Up here. So, how you can use this to your advantage is really when it comes to determining what support cards you might want to bring. And so on this one, for example, Slipstream, if you've seen my Umas, Slipstream is like the one that I have like the most sparks of all over the place. And it's kind of nice as it's really the hardest one to get off of support cards currently. And so like keeping that one kind of in there as tightly as I have, I get it on most of my runs. And now we're showing it with Ines Fujin. We can put Silent Suzuka here and it's a better example. Ines Fujin has it built in, so it doesn't matter as much on her. But if I put like Silent Suzuka here, if I was going to build a parent of her or a grandparent of her, 67% chance, very good chance. And that's one of those things, well, I'm gambling on trying to get it through inspiration. So which ones are a little bit on the lower side? Well, we can see Ramp Up right now. I used to have a lot of Ramp Up sparks, and I do on some of my grandparents and great-grandparents, where this can get all the way up to 60 to 70% chance. Ramp Up has fallen off a little bit lately, primarily because I've gotten more Tail Held High, and I've accepted a Tail Held High ones in builds over it, and so it's gotten a little weaker. So Ramp Up's a big one that I want to try and pick up and get reestablished in there. And so what I'll do is like, oh, I need Ramp Up. What's a good card for that? Yano Muteki is a very good one for that, giving me a good shot at, or get almost a guaranteed shot if as long as we finish the chain / getting it off one of her hints at getting the spark, especially because it has its on in it. We can see Playtime's Over is also still on the lower side of things. So that one might mean I need to bring my the card that everybody has, which is going to be Yukino Bijin, or if you have maybe Kurin-chan Wit, or, I mean, if my Ramp Up was really, really good, I could get Playtime's Over off of Yano Muteki. Now, I prefer to get It's On, because that gives me a very good shot at getting Ramp Up, because it's 40% by default, and for every Ramp Up spark, it goes up another 5%. I think I have 3 or 4 occurrences that I have in here, which would mean I have about a 60% chance of getting a Ramp Up spark with It's On, which is another reason why Yano Muteki is so strong here. Playtime's Over, when Light Hello comes out, will be a very good card to bring, just because that one has the gold version of it, and even easier to get because you just have to do all the dates. You do all the dates, guaranteed to get the gold version of Playtime's Over, 40% chance, plus I think I have it in 3 times in here. That would mean I have a 55% chance of getting Playtime's Over. Gambling on Slipstream, because we have a pretty high chance there. Tail Held High, if it was a little bit lower, might be the reason I bring Power Bakshin. She has it on the second chain. Same thing with Tamamo Cross Stamina. She has it on the second chain. So right now, how I'm looking at it, my Tail Held High chance is actually good enough that I will try and get it off of hints from Yano Muteki, max, since that's the card I'm borrowing. And if I don't get it there, I also have a good shot at getting it through Inspiration at 58% chance over the entirety of a career. Prudent Positioning is another big one I'm really trying to get in as much as possible. Right now, since I'm using Muteki, I can't use the one that I really want to use, which is Kawakami Princess. But because that one's low, and Groundwork's something you pretty much want to try and guarantee as much as possible with your frontrunner ones alongside Ignited Wit. Smart Falcon Power, very good card. Not as good as Kawakami because it's a gamble on getting the gold version, but if she finishes her chain, I do get Prudent Positioning at a minimum out of there. and it's in a decent amount of these, I can get a decent amount of sparks there. And so what I'm trying to show here is this tool is very useful will continue to be very useful, especially down the line when there's even more skills. Because if you've looked at JP at all, I mean, they're getting to the point where you can have over 100 white sparks on your entire parent-grandparent chain. And there's very specific skills you're going to want to get in there, multiple of them. And when it comes to making those parents, you can utilize this to determine which specific cards you want to bring. And then you just kind of build out a deck around it. Luckily, right now, it's a little bit harder in Trackblazer because race bonus. There's a lot of really good parent cards that have like crap race bonus, and then you're going way below. Like, I've been basically doing 50% on a lot of my parent runs just to kind of squeeze as many skills as I can. And in the future, that won't be as much of a problem, as not only will you not care about race bonus, but the scenarios will be good enough or strong enough that even with the weaker parent cards, you easily get that SS to then get the better white sparks in general, which is going to overall improve your Umas. And so I kind of just go in here on Game Tora and just kind of plan out the decks I'm using through it. Now, you can kind of build out your decks on which cards you want to use for the skills for the different Umas you want to bring. And just to see how I might adjust my deck here, let's say we'll use my other Umas instead of using the Summer Maru Zenzi. So you can kind of see what my plans would be here. If I was, instead of using her, I wanted to use my Ines Fujin, really good great-grandparent one. You can see there's a little bit differences here. This one, Groundwork's even better. Higher chance here. Slipstream all the way up to, and actually I think I need to reset this real quick. That went a little too high. I think that was, okay. Yeah, that adjusted. Okay, so we have, the Groundwork all the way at 71. We have Ignited Wit at 70. Playtime's over 38, so it's a little bit lower. My Summer Maru Zenzi got a copy of it on there, so it's lower. We have Tail Held High, which was at 58 on the other one, down at 36. But this one's got Prudent Positioning all the way up to 49. Ramp Up at 53. And so you can see this one, I may say, well, I need to get Bok Sheen in there because Tail Held High is much lower chance this time. Playtime's over is a much lower chance. I should probably bring something that has that. So if I bring Yaeno Muteki, which is just a great card overall in general, instead of taking It's On for Ramp Up, which has a higher chance here, I might use the second one to get playtimes over. Or I could always bring the Bijan card that has it as well, the Free Guts card that we all got. And so the deck adjusts based on the setup here. And so I've been just using this in general, and it's been actually quite a bit of help versus me just kind of doing the mental math that I used to do. And it is adjusted how I'm approaching certain Umas I'm using, and as well, because certain Umas have certain things built in. And so gold skills, like I said, make it a lot easier. And so future Umas that I might use that might not be the best in terms of parents, might be good grandparents for that sake. I already know, like, one, if you're trying to build a very good, just generically grandparent for end closers, Tamamo Cross will be one because she has access to Tail 9. Same thing with Anari 1, has access to Tail 9, also has a very good alt inherit, and could make it work here as well, depending what they have built in. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I thought I'd just talk a little bit about this, kind of showcase my way I kind of approach it. There's all kinds of different ways you can use this. Just plug and play in here. Not only, now I'm using it primarily for parents, but it also is good for getting a general idea of what your odds are for your aces as well. I know the biggest thing a lot of people look for are the pink spark chance. So like in this case, if I was trying to build an ace, for example, I could see that it's going to take me about 1 out of 4 runs just to get medium S on a first inspiration. Sucks in Trackblazer, but when we get into like Grand Live and I'm able to do a run in 5 minutes, 20 minutes to get medium S is pretty nice. And then you can kind of accept some tolerances of not having certain sparks in your Umas, because you can try and just spam runs to get that luck versus trying minimal runs like you do with Trackblazer. But that'll be it for now. I thought I'd just kind of showcase the tool. I kind of went a little longer than I kind of expected here. But if you like my content, if you could like, comment, subscribe, it really helps. And thanks for watching.